Peace and power, drop nation. All across the plain, we are back in the investigation of Prester John. This is part 17, and oh, it feels so good. It feels crazy to go crazy. It feels crazy to go crazy and search, and just have that excitement to actually find something. And you're on the hills or something because everybody's talking about it. I had not even near nada. I forgot how this even started. I mean, I'm sure somebody in Drop Nation sent some link and something happened. All I know is we're talking about Prester John. We're in part 17. We know that this is an important key. We know it ties into, so much of our connection, man, when they first came here and the peoples that they was trying to take down. We got to get into some of this Ray Hagen's, man. I think that might be my next drop. Again, love to AD, man, Isaac 4, Uno, Hiram Mar, man, all the researchers, man, just breaking down so much drop, man. Love to J Stu, man, the beautiful crew. Love to the community, man, that's thriving and surviving and thriving. You know what I mean? As we build Queen Califia, we're going to make a right turn right into Califia. You're going to see how this connects to Prester John. What's the theories? We read about it and you come up to a lot of walls because they cover so much. You hit a lot of walls, but then we start connecting this Queen Califia, Queen Sheba, Prester John, King Solomon, Fountain of Youth, all the connection that's going on. But I just want to start, man. I like intros and, we got a lot to do, but let's just start. Let's just start with a little bit of what if physics is a lie. What if physics is a lie? Why? I don't know. Because I think it's cool. Let's relax. Let's dig on this. We're going to get into this investigation, man.
I was in physics class, and the teacher was saying, bumblebees can't fly. It's impossible. Aerodynamically, they can't fly. And I was on the second floor of the classroom, and I looked out the window, and there was a big, beautiful bumblebee staring at me right in the eye. And he was doing something that this guy said he couldn't do. I'd never forgotten that lesson. And so from then on, I understood that, he was right. They can't fly. They levitate.
Levitate. Vibrate. Activate. Yeah. Can you fly?
In natural law, there's only one law, and that's you either know or you don't know. There's no guesswork. It's like you know when you're hungry. You know when you want to sleep. These are knowing. These are all natural knowing. It has a great deal of difference from the synthetic or invented system of belief. You can believe this, but somebody can come along and get you to disbelieve, and vice versa. So you go around and around and around all your life. Some people, they never seem to get anywhere until you stand up and look into natural law, which is either you know or you don't know. And if you don't know, then you proceed along a line that's comfortable for you, and you proceed into the subject matter that you're studying, and you don't give up until you know what it is. There's no more guesswork. And you don't have to try to do this, because if you're following natural law, it will come to you. All you have to do is start it. The first step is just, I want to learn this, I want to know this. Just start it, and pretty soon, it will start teaching you. The bumblebee, when he starts to beat his wings, when he starts to flap his wings, there's a little cavity, a hollow cavity next to the larynx inside his system that's hollow. And when he beats his wings, he starts to resonate this energy. And it goes back and forth, just similar to somebody hitting a high C and breaking a crystal.
Vibration.
What they do, they resonate. And when they resonate, they eventually reach the resonance of the field around them. The earth is operating on a frequency.
The earth is operating on a frequency. Frequency, energy, vibrations. Tesla said, if you want to understand the secrets of the universe, that is the secrets of the creator and creation, you must break it down into simple, simplistic frequency, energy, and vibration. Even in the search for Prester John, we must do it in a frequency. There's a reason why we can unlock things at a different rate, under a different resonance. That's why it's so important. It's not about a brain test. No one's trying to go brain for brain with anybody. We're just vibrating collectively, whether we know each other or not, whether we live in the same cities or not. It's a frequency. We are already connected. We're already connected. The earth operates on a frequency. Levitate.
8.5 hertz per second. Once his bumblebee hits that resonant frequency that's surrounding it, it becomes a free agent. It creates a magnetic bubble around itself, and it can go anywhere it wants. Well, that's not in any of the science books. You probably never see it there either, but that's what happens. We have a conventional way of doing things, and then we have a natural way of doing things, and they're totally different.
Ancient secret being. Oh no. Y'all go check the rest of that out, man. But what if physics is a lie? What if physics is a lie? Subscribe to Nakara. They, dropping much historic drop, much science drop, man. Love digging on it. Let's go. Let's just go. Let's get into it. Hindu America. We're in the search for Prester John. We're in part 17. If you don't know, you better ask somebody. Go recon those other 16 parts. 2 hours, 16 parts. What's that? 32 hours of documented research into the investigation of Prester John. 32 hours. We've been in this together for 32 hours. Let's go. So we're in the book Hindu America. And we touched on this before, so I'm just jumping right back into it. I'll leave you the links. All right, so, of course, we dodge the hijacks. Everyone has their, agenda. This particular person wants you to think that everything in America is modern-day India. Like what you think of India today, it's modern-day, this modern India. But now we're connecting this Prester John. We're researching the 3 Indias. We understand, based on our previous research, that we're in the furthest India. That Prester John is the emperor of what they're calling Ethiopia or Abyssinia, in the farthest India, which is America. So now we have Hindu America in the India, Hindu, Raja Chola. Remember all that connection? Do you remember my Raja Chola? I mean, we can go back there, but y'all got to go back there and get that drop on this Raja Chola. All right. So Prester John's all over the place. Again, I didn't expect all this King Solomon, King David, the exilarchs, David, all the rulers, kings in Babylon, in Jerusalem during the Babylonian captivity in Babylon. So these are these rulers of Israel that are ruling during these Babylonian captivities, and it's connecting back to this Raja Chola II, emperor of Soli, Saliman, right? Father of Saliman, King Saliman. Whoa. Don't let me go back to the timelines. They're playing with our timelines. A lot of this is recent history. Raja Hiraja Chola II, Jadaran, Emperor of Soli, Prester John, Pandian, Panda, but the panda. I could love my panda. Panda, you know what I'm talking about. They got it right in your face, man. Pandian. Then you got Pangea. Then we got Pan. We got all this Pan, Japan. All right. Maya Pan. Yeah, all right, man. Y'all understand. Prester John. That's all we talking. That's all I'm talking is Prester John. All right, so Central America, Mexico, was admittedly the cradle of civilization in the New World, and it is there that we find the innumerable imprints of Hindu culture. All right, so they're going to throw Hindu out there a lot. They're going to give you some images of some recent modern so-called Hindu, situation. Now, we understand the connection between this and Atlantis, and that this Atlantean situation is the Egyptian situation, is the Hindu situation. They're all Atlantean deities that were fallen in these sunken islands that still managed to make their way to keep hijacking you today under different names and different titles. So we can acknowledge the Hindu Atlantean connection while at the same time understanding the nativity of things, the indigenous of things, of Prester John, of this King David, of this Israelite kingdom that was recently taken down. The nativity of the Prester John of the three Indias, and India being just a generic form of just dark-skinned people living in what they're calling the Far East, which is the Far West. So Central America, Mexico, was admittedly the cradle of civilization into the New World. In the New World, all right, the cradle of civilization. So are they saying they came from Africa? The cradle of civilization in the New World, and which is the Old World. So Mexico is the cradle of civilization in the Old World. That's how you got to flip all this shit. And it is there that we find the innumerable imprints of what they're calling Hindu culture and religious philosophies. Again, since we know that America is where Atlantis is and was, as well as those other islands that sunk around it, east and west, then we know that the Hindu Atlantean connection also roots from here. So they're going to try to connect here with there instead of connecting there with here. Do you see how backwards we're researching? Not we're researching, but we're going into their research, and they're completely backwards. But we can get the babies out the bathwater, even if the bathwater is swirling around backwards. So they're going to try to connect the Hindu Atlantean culture of so-called India today with America. And I'm telling you that America is the origin of their Hindu culture, because America is where Atlantis was. It's where Eden is, right? We'll get it. Hindu culture, all right. So, but enough evidence on the subject is available in far-off Peru and North America. So we got the connection with the Peru right away. Right away. Let's go. Jerusalem popped up right away. The belief in the eternity of the soul and the transmigration of the soul prevailed over all the continent. Huge temples with costly images of gods. All right. Why did these islands get sunk? Huge temples with costly images of gods. Atlantis, gods. Lemuria, gods. Idols, man. Put down your idols. Connect to your creator. Let's go. Huge temples of costly images of gods existed everywhere. Priests wielded supreme influence like the Brahmins of India. We got into the Brahmins and the Brahmas. We got into the connection with that, the Brahma and the Krishna and the Christ. All that in the OSB. We'll get back in that, man. So here we go. So everywhere, priests wielded supreme influence like the Brahmins in India. Hindu gods such as Indra, the rain god, Ganesha, the elephant-headed god, Shiva Linga, all right, Shiva, Canaan connection. Love to Lex Will for that. You know what I'm saying? He connected the Vishnu and Canaan, and then you got Shiva coming out of that. So you got the Canaan. All right, keep the Canaan on your mind. And Yama, the god of death and justice. and numerous serpent gods, Nagas. All right, here we go another. Here we go with the Nagas again of India were worshipped and are worshipped in some areas on the whole continent. This was the work of the Hindu pioneers who visited the American continent centuries before Europe had come out of the woods, out of the caves, while they were still stuck traveling the Mediterranean Sea, not going out into the true ocean. This is centuries before Europe had come out of the woods. All right, so I will prove the theory by furnishing detailed information about the lasting culture imprints left with the vast continent of America by Hindu culture. All right. So we're going to get into some Aztec drop. You know what I mean? All right. So I'm going to skip down right here. The Hindu doctrine of ages is still preserved in the immortal stone monolith, properly known as Aztec calendar. So they're calling it the Hindu yugas, the epochs in America. The Hindu doctrine of the ages is still preserved in the immortal stone monolith, properly known as Aztec calendar. Photograph on opposite page. All right, so I should call it a foundation stone of Hindu culture in America. I can prophesy that in the near future, this calendar will prove the most helpful key to the solution of the problem of Hindu civilization in America, and it will be recognized that the Aztecs were Hindus. Okay. We're going to dodge the hijack, but we're going to see how they're trying to connect it and get the babies out of how. Obviously, we can look at this and say all kinds of things, right? But let's see what exists in it that we can abstract. And that's how we're doing as researchers, and that's why we've gotten so far, is that we don't trip on being right. You know what I'm saying? We just love to extract babies. You know what I'm saying? We've become very talented together at extracting babies out of all these documents, no matter what these hijacks are saying. All right? We don't have our people writing this stuff, so we got to get it out of the 440, but we can turn that 440, that frequency, we can together turn that into 432. We can together get those Moshes, those babies out the bathwater. So Hindu civilization in America, and it will be recognized that the Aztecs were Hindus, they say. All right. That the Aztecs, the last civilized ruling race in Mexico, believed in the Hindu theory of 4 yugas, yugas, is proved by the interesting depiction of this Aztec calendar. They say by Hyatt Farrell. All right. So the Aztecs believed in eternity as regards the soul, but with khans or epochs, yugas, each of which was dependent on the sun. At the close of every 4 suns, so at the close of every 4 suns, epochs, the world was supposed to meet with disaster. Now, does this play? We know the Aztec calendar is played in different ways. You know what I'm saying? We know that either this is coming, from the creator, or it's coming from this other, wisdom of Thoth, or this other wisdom of this Brahma, this Louis Mang, you know what I'm saying? This other frequency, these fallen angel frequencies. Them niggas don't lie all the time. Sometimes they hide a lot of truth in their bullshit. So, what is the truth? So, is there any truth is what we're saying. I never heard of this, you guys, but is there any truth of this connecting to this Aztec calendar? It says the world was supposed to meet with disaster at the close of every 4 suns. Are we at that point? The exact nature of each being foretold and recorded. Nothing could have a more remarkable and interesting story than the famous Aztec calendar stone. This remarkable piece of stone carving is in its form of an immense disc 12 feet in diameter and weighing over 20 tons. Did you know it was that freaking large? 20 tons? It's a famous Aztec calendar stone. Now they claiming it for the Hindu, but are we saying that these people here got it from them over there in India, or that we are in the third India, and that the same third India has always been here and is where the bigger. This third India we are in is very relevant. when we bring up the topic of the river Euphrates in America. Now, you're going to see this depiction, this painting right here from Jan Felton, Tapir. We showed this before with Young. This is Tapir with Young. Gaucher painting. It's a Gaucher painting in Wandering der Natur, ca. 1700. So this is in 1700. Someone painted this in 1700. All right. Arch Library, University of Amsterdam. And let's go up and read again. It says the text follows with a broad invitation to all gentlemen. So this is an advertisement of the arrival of a tapir in the menagerie of the White Elephant Inn. Woodcut and printed text pasted in Wandering der Natur, 1700s. All right, so let's get it. To all gentlemen, ladies, burghers, merchants, and furthermore to all lovers of animals, to come and see this rarity, which many writers say does not exist anywhere in the world. It has been captured with great difficulty and cost in the river Euphrates in America. In the river Euphrates in America. The river Euphrates in America. What aren't they telling you? Now, I've heard all kinds of wild stories about this Euphrates River and how the Euphrates River actually connects with the Nile, and all these being really the same river, like running like a serpent-like course, running underwater, connecting all over, like one large river. One large river. You call it Euphrates, you call it this, you call it this, you call it that. River Euphrates in America. This is probably an error, they say. The Euphrates River is far from America, right? That's what I thought. But geographical accuracy clearly is not an issue. Okay. So they got to put a disclaimer out there. But just in case you forgot. Rather, he paints a colorful gouche of several tapirs grazing peacefully in the waters of what is undoubtedly meant to be the Euphrates River in America. The Euphrates River in America. The river and its bank are suggested with vague washes of blue and green. And this is the painting if we had it in color. The Euphrates River in America. So, yeah, don't get it twisted. We're just talking about the Euphrates River in America. Let's get a little bit more of this. So we have this Aztec calendar. All right. So it was cut from a single block of black porphyry and was completed between 1487 and 1499. If the date upon it has been correctly interpreted, it was originally placed in the Great Temple in Mexico City. All right. What is that? Tenochtitlan was thrown down by the Spaniards under Cortez and was completely buried beneath the debris and ruins of the Aztec buildings. Okay, so that kingdom was thrown down. Now, what does that kingdom have to do with the same Jerusalem that Columbus said he took in 1501? He writes in 1501 that he's conquering the holy city of Jerusalem in Mount Zion in America. From 1501, it took 8 months to complete this document. In the Biblioteca de Colombina Sevilla, you've seen it many times. Read it and read it. It says all this is placing up together. So some kingdom was taken down. The Papal Bull 1452 is right there and saying subjugate the people of the Indies, put them in perpetual servitude. Now we hear about these Aztecs getting rolled up on in this city, but was thrown down by the Spaniards under Cortez and was completely buried beneath the debris and ruins of Aztec buildings. We read also in Dan Standard's book about these beautiful streets that were so clean that they thought that Montezuma had hired over 1,000 street sweepers a day to keep these streets so clean and people in white. and all these beautiful buildings. It's the same thing, buried beneath the debris and ruins of the Aztec buildings. So they just tore all of it down. What are they looking for? What was Columbus looking for? Eden. He was looking for paradise. He was looking for Prester John. He was looking for the Israelite king across the river, the Sambanya. They were looking for paradise, people, when they found you. So-called Negro, they were looking for paradise when they found you. So-called Negro, they were looking for paradise, Eden. The river Euphrates, painted with washes of blue. The river Euphrates in America, people. You're in the old world. Let go. All right. Now, we're talking about this calendar. We're talking about this calendar and we're talking about prophecy. Now let's get into an interpretation of it. The interpretation of these is that the first sun or age was destroyed by a jaguar, the second cycle or sun was destroyed by a hurricane, and the third by rain of fire, and the fourth by a flood. All right. Each time, according to the symbol, one human couple escaped destruction and lived to repopulate the earth. Book of Genesis, the flood. Now, this is recorded in your history here already. Not your New Testament hijack. Not any hijack coming between you and your Creator. The idols of Atlantis, those that survived the destruction, they kept popping up everywhere, from here to there, from here to there. These fallen angels have never stopped, right? But you'll find your order here, and you'll find the foundational legends that they hijacked. They didn't just invent things, they hijacked them. Just like they're hijacking you from your Creator. From the simplicity of just returning to the Creator of your trees. Each time, according to the symbols, one human couple escaped destruction and lived to repopulate the earth. At the top of the stone beneath the tails of two reptiles is the symbol for, 13 akatil, or reed, indicating that the present or fifth sun began or appeared in that year. Another symbol indicates that the present sun will end with the promised destructive earthquake on that day, OLI-4. This date symbol is followed by 3 hieroglyphs indicating the points of the compass. Okay. Next in order, outside the historical portion of the stone, are the 20 Aztec day signs or symbols. While surrounding all are 2 reptilian monsters meeting face to face with their tails at the top of the stone. These are the turquoise snake, or I don't know how to say that, Exuco, and are symbols of fire and water. All right, so here are these crazy reptiles, and all they symbolize are fire and water. Right? You think, well, that's the devil, but they just symbolize fire and water. We have to get back in our minds. All right. What's the indigenous truth? That's what we're trying to extract. In the mouth of each is a human head representing the fire god, Exuatecutili. On the other side, I'm gonna butcher this stuff, I'm trying. Right? While on the other side of the stone are a sculpture representing the obsidian butterfly, Itza Papatolitu. All right. So then they got the story of the 4 ages, the following account by Mackenzie and the Hindu yugas and their identity. The Mexican doctrine will be read with interest, he says. And it goes into it. All right, the colors of the 4 Indian ages called yugas are white, red, yellow, and black. And their names and lengths are as follow. All right, Krita Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, Kali. Remember this Kali Yuga. All right, here are their years, divine and years. I mean, is it play? We're just breezing through it, but, I'm just throwing it out there to y'all so we can see if we can connect this, what's going on. 1 year of mortals is equal to 1 day of the gods. 1 year of mortals is equal to 1 day of the gods. Right? Is that because they're off the clock? They're off of time and space? The 12,000 divine years equal 4,320,000 years of mortals. So, okay, each human year is made up of 360 days. All right, 1,000 of these periods is 4,320,000 years equals 1 day. Kalpa of Brahma, a year of Brahman, is composed of 360 kalpas, and he endures for 100 of these years. Now, if you plug that into these prophecies, like the Book of Daniel, what happens? I don't know. So Krita Yuga, perfect age, was so named because there was but one religion, and all men were so saintly that they did not require to perform religious ceremonies. No work was necessary. All that men needed was obtained by the power of will. Narayana, the universal soul, was white. In the Truta Yuga, sacrifice began. The world soul was red, and virtue lessened a quarter. In the Dwapara Yuga, virtue lessened a half. The world soul was yellow. In the Kali Yuga, men turned to wickedness and degenerated. The world soul was black. This was the black or iron age, according to the Mahabharata. Okay. Now you got these same yugas in China. All right. These yugas in China, the doctrine of the world ages can be traced to China. And we're back in the Asiatics. We understand the indigenous, melanated Chinese. All right. It is embedded in the works of Lao Tzu, and founder of Taoism, and of his follower Kuang Tzu. In the age of perfect virtue, wrote the letter, men attached no value to wisdom. They were upright and correct, without knowing that to be so was righteousness. They loved one another without knowing that to be so was benevolence. They were honest and what does that say? Leo, I can't see that word, but Leo-hearted, something hearted, without knowing that it was loyalty. So loyal-hearted, I guess they're saying, without knowing that it was loyalty. They fulfilled their engagements without knowing that to do so was good faith. In their simple movements, they employed the services of one another without thinking that they were conferring or receiving any gift. Therefore, their actions left no trace, and there was no record of their affairs. The reference is quite clearly to the first Indian age, Krita Yuga, the first Indian age. The doctrine of the world's ages was imported into pre-Columbian America. We're just talking Prester John. Pre-Columbian America. I know what you think when you think pre-Columbian and Indians and teepees, but this is what I need you to start focus on as an image, as the last noble image of the Negro. According to Rudolph Sanders, Lost Tribes of Promised Lands, Ronald Sanders, let's go. Prester John, Prester Juan, Hong Kong, Wang Kong, Wan, Ong, Wan. It's just a title. Prince, King, right? Priest, King, right? So the doctrine of the world's ages was imported into pre-Columbian America and Mexico. These ages were colored white, golden, red, and black. As in other countries, golden means yellow. Metal symbolism, yellow metal symbolism, having been closely connected with color symbolism. In the Japanese Kojiki, yellow is the color of gold, white of silver, red of copper. This is very important if we only extract this out of the bathwater. But I think many of y'all have already extracted a lot. But copper, so when they call copper color, we're only talking metals, right? We're only talking metal symbolism. But copper is red. So when you hear red man, you're still saying copper color man. Copper metal man. All right? Red, copper, red, copper. Same thing. White, silver, same thing. When you're talking about metal symbolism, connecting to color symbolism, Now we're connecting the metals to the colors. Can we activate? Can we levitate like a bumblebee? Come on. Copper color or bronze, and black of iron. It's the tough age, right? It's the age of despair. Are you black? Are you in despair? Are you black? Are you dead property? The following comparative table is of special interest. Okay, if it's special to you, it's special to me. Colors of the mythical ages. So in the Greek, they have the yellow, white, red, and black. Indian 1, white, red, yellow, black. Indian 2, white, yellow, red, black. Celtic, white, red, yellow, black. Mexican, white, yellow, red, black. Now, I guess we're paying attention to the order of these things as they relate to color and metal symbolism. Again, gold, yellow, white, silver, red. When you see red, you're talking copper. When you see black, you're talking iron. The Mexican sequence is identified with Indian 2. It may be noticed that the white or silver age is the first and most perfect in Indian, Celtic, and Mexican. The white or silver age is the first and most perfect. Interesting. Greece alone begins with the yellow or golden age of perfection. The following comparative table shows the lengths of the Indian and Mexican ages. So Indian, first age, 4,800 years. Mexican, 4,800 years. Indian, second age, 3,600 years. Mexican, 4,010. Indian, third age, 2,400 years. Mexican, 4,801 years. Indian, fourth age, 1,200 years. Mexican, 5,042 years of, it looks like famine. All right, so years of famine. Interesting. In both countries, the first age is of exactly the same duration. There were white, yellow, red heavens in Mexico as in India. The Brahmanic Trinity, which in India was composed of Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva. All right, what you get out the OSB? You got the Baal and Ashtoreth and Thoth, were another trinity. These are their fallen angel trinity hijacks. All right, so now we know we're dealing with fallen angel shit, but we know that we have extracted very interesting symbologies when it comes to colors and metals, and we're seeing how it connects to our man, your man, Prester John. Because if this is King Solomon, or if this is a lineage from a lineage of the seed of the rulership of the exilarchs, David the sixth, Soslin of Babylon and Georgia. All right. Father of Solomon, Jewish king of Talmud, Jewish or Israelite king. We got our exilarch list, man. We'll get it again. All right, cool. So, let's get this last paragraph. The ages have had their colors, and although the color sequences differ slightly, the symbolic colors or metals are identical. It would be ridiculous to assert that such a strange doctrine was of spontaneous origin in different parts of the old and new world. So they're saying this ain't spontaneous, that there's a connection between what's going down and this particular connection with the colors and the metals. It has been noticed that the duration of the first age is the same in Mexico and India, namely 4,800 years. The Indian system gives the length of the 4 yugas as 4,320,000 years of mortals, which equal 12,000 divine years. That is of the Babylonian origin. There can be no doubt. The Babylonians had 10 antediluvian kings. Listen up, people. This reminds me of the Book of Daniel. So let's see, I already said if we connect that, it looks like they're already kind of leading us there, all right? So the Babylonians had 10 antediluvial kings who were reputed to have reigned for vast periods, the total of which amounted to 120 seroi, or 4 million, or what does that say? 4,320,000 years. Multiplied by 10, this total gives the Indian Mehu Yuga of 4. So that's 432,000 years. And then we got 4,332,000 years. I can't help but keep seeing 432, as you're probably seeing it. And as we see how that relates to 12, this divine, right? So this 432, 12, and how they're getting into these 4,320,000 years. So, you know, whatever we're dealing with, they understand frequency. In Babylonia, the measurements of time and space were arrived at the utilizing the numerals 10 and 6. The 6 parts of the body were multiplied by the 10 fingers. This gave the base 60, which multiplied by the 2 hands gave 120. In measuring the zodiac, the Babylonian mathematician fixed on 120 degrees. The zodiac was at first divided into 30 moon chambers marked by 30 stars. What does it mean? The chiefs of the 30 numbered 12. Time was equal with space, and 12 by 30 gave 360 days for the year. In Babylonia, Egypt, India, and Mexico, the year was one of 360 days. See how it splits perfectly? But now you got 365 days, right? To which 5 godless or unlucky days were added. See, we're always a step ahead of these guys. To which 5, so now we got 365. During which no laws obtained. No laws obtained. Wow. During which no laws obtained. That the Mexicans should have oriented this system quite independently is difficult to believe. So again, we got this connection. Another habit common to the New World and the Old was that of the coloring the points of the compass in the 4 winds. All right. So we keep getting there. We keep getting there. We're going to get more of this. But we're just talking Prester John. You remember this link, this new advent. You know, these links be disappearing, you know, so it is important to, you know, print this stuff out and have it in our records, man, because it will disappear on us quickly. But again, this particular researcher here is connecting King David, either the son or the nephew of Prester or Prester John, had placed himself at the head of 3 powerful armies and was moving upon the Mohammedan countries. So that's where he was known for, was his victories in these particular wars. That's why the Christians were trying to recruit him, and that's why, you know, they were, you know, trying to extract his energy with their cross. With his cross, their cross. His cross is not their cross. When they talk his cross, we're talking indigenous cross. We're talking cardinal directions. We're talking north, south, east, west. We're not talking crossbones. So wouldn't it make sense that they are putting out a flag to try to, look, they're looking for Prester John everywhere. This is what we're getting to. They're looking for Prester John around Ethiopia. They're looking for Prester John in India. They're looking for Prester John in the furthest India. They're looking for Prester John. Columbus is looking for Prester John as soon as he got here. According to Lost Tribes and Promised Land, he thought Prester John, you know, or looking for the great Khan, which might be the Israelite king across from the river from Prester John, which is the Sambanya. That shit is real spill. So he's connecting Prester John to Eden, to the Israelite king here. And now we got King David. Raja Haraja Chola. Raja Haraja Chola. All right. Exilarch David, King David. Ruling as an exilarch during the Babylonian captivity, Assyrian captivity. What are our timelines? Father of Solomon, Prester John. Lebna Dangle DeWitt. He's called DeWitt, Lebna Dangle. We know that. So let's go. King David is no other than the Mongolian conqueror Genghis or Genghis Khan. Now, he might be that, or he might be the blood uncle. We're still trying to figure that out, but he's definitely a Khan, an Ame'rican, who at this time, with 3 legions pushed forward towards the west, and in a most sanguinary battle, annihilated the power of Islam in Central Asia. That's why you got all that being called the land of Prester John now. Not that he lives there, but that he conquered it. He and many of his successors. So this is King David, according to this researcher, conquering it. At the same time, they're calling us Mongols. At the same time, we're being mixed into these different things. But we know that there's different sects of what they call Mongols. And there's the Kyriads. And the Kyriads is what's connecting to Ang Khan or Ang Wang Khan or Prester John, or King David. It's all the same. Or Alexander. It's all the same. He and many of his successors were favorable to the Christians and adverse to the Mohammedans, they're saying. So why would they be favorable? It's because these are the people that are writing the history, and they want them to be favorable. So they're sending out ships and they're putting this cross on it, knowing the indigenous energy of it. And now they put their hijack on it. And now they're using symbology, they're using energy that it's a sick game, this frequency war. They know they can't come to you with crossbones, so they come to you with a north, south, east, west, letting you know that they got you hijacked from north, south, east, west. Your energy grid, where all these temples are built on. These sacred trees were there. They were cut down, and they built temples on your trees. All along this cross. So the symbol of a cross is representing energy. It's representing an energetic grid. And we don't know it because we don't know it's a frequency war. So what they do, they put up the cross because they're attracting Prester John. They're going everywhere to attract him. The Knights Templar, rocking the Babylonian cross, all this shit is looking for Prester John. That's how bad they want him. They're looking for him for years, hundreds of years. They need the alliance. So what they say, oh, well, he's favorable to the Christians. No, the Christians were favorable to him. And adverse to the Mohammedans. Well, yeah, because he annihilated the power of Islam. The Mongol kingdom also surpassed all Asiatic principalities, energies, gods by its display by the name of David given to the Eastern conqueror still remains unexplained. All right. So the horrible slaughter committed by the Mongols soon proved that they were no pious pilgrims bound for the holy scepter, still less were they Christians. After a short time, the legend assumed another form. It said that the Mongolians were the wild hordes mentioned in the presbyter's letter to Manuel. So, you go back some drops ago, you'll hear about the letter of Otto, the Bishop Otto, and all that. So that's the most popular letter that everyone's starting to chase this Prester John, this melanated king, and they all knew he was black. This didn't matter. When they were at war with Islam and he was annihilating Islam, they were trying to recruit him and say, hey, and they called him an historian, right? Which only refers to an old king renowned for wise counsel. And the only old king that was known for wisdom, as far as we're concerned, is Solomon, is the line of David. All right, so after a short time, the legend assumed another form. It said that the Mongolians were the wild hordes mentioned in Presbyter's letter to Manuel. They had risen up against their own ruler, King David, murdered both by him and his father. The Speculum Historiale of Vincent Beaufils says, in the year of our Lord 1202, after murdering their ruler David. All right, so we keep hearing that Prester John was murdered in 1202 by his foster son or his his nephew, whatever you want to call it, Genghis Khan. Another sect of this tribe murdered Prester John, according to what they're saying. Now we also know that Prester John had the Fountain of Youth. We have nothing to confirm that he was ever murdered. Maybe they just said they killed him, so we don't know. But in the year of their, he's saying in the year of our Lord 1202. After murdering their ruler, David, King David, here we go. The Tartars set about destroying the people. So here's the upheave, the uproar against this David. Certain historical facts form the basis of this remarkable report. Bar Hebreus mentions that in 1006. Don't, remember the timelines. Everything before the 900s and after 900s. Now, after 900s, things start to kind of fall into place a little more. So I pay more attention to that. According to the account of Rebruquis and Franciscan, these chariots, remember I said these are a specific group of chariots. Let me back it up. I skipped a line. Bar Hebraeus mentions that in 1006, the Mongolian tribe of Kariots, all right? So Prester John was the ruler, emperor of these Kariots that were conquering all these other people in Asia. They called them all Mongolian, even though they're only referring to King David in them. Now they have their other more modern Chinese looking Mongolians, and that's the ones, these are the images you're getting. But this was not a, this was a very general term. And it meant many melanated people were grouped under this Mongolian general term. All right. Tribe of Kariots. Now we're getting specific. Now we're getting specific into Israelites. So research the connection between these Kariots and Israelites in Upper Asia. China, right? Had become Christians, Nestorians, they say. And we already got that. According to the account of Rebuquis and Franciscan, these Kariots were relatives to the Naimans, another Mongolian shepherd tribe. Shepherd tribe, shepherd tribe. See the key word. And pay tribute to their ruler Korchan, Chan. They also were Nestorian Christians. Man, you see how that old king renowned for wise counsel. That's the etymology. And in that vicinity were considered the countrymen of Prester John. Prester John. Prester John, Emperor de los Abyssinios, Ethiopians, dark people over here. Israelites, King David. And in that vicinity were considered countrymen of Prester John, the prince of the Kariots, Onkan, O-N-G, U-N-C, W-A-N-G is the original, and it was broken down to Ong, and then Onkan was in 1202 completely subject to the superior power of Genghis Khan. So now we have this researcher going into another theory. So one is that Genghis Khan is Prester John. Another is that he was subject to the superior power of Genghis Khan, who meanwhile was on the friendliest terms with his family, thus giving the Kariots a certain amount of independence. Marco Polo speaks of Onkan as the great prince who is called Prester John. The whole world speaking of his great power. We got to get into Marco Polo's joints, you know what I'm saying? I think we might end up doing our dismount of the series. We're in part 17. We'll stop at 22. I think I can do that, but it might continue, man. We'll see. As the great prince who is called Prester John. So Onkan, according to Marco Polo, is Prester John. Is Raja Haraja Chola II. This is back to the Pandians and this India situation, the furthest India, the whole connection of it. We just got out the Hindu America, the connection, and they're connecting this with the Aztecs. And so even though they try to hijack us with their images, we can dodge the hijack and understand. Lords, priests, warriors, silver governors. I mean, you know what I'm saying? When we go into this caste system and all this hijackness, the Incas had their casteless tribes in South America, exactly like the Antillage, the lowest caste people in India. We're getting to the origin of this caste system, man. And the Aryan situation, we got that before, how the original Aryan, hijack free, just meant, powerful seed or ruling seed. So that's the hijack free version of Aryan. Then became the, this Indo-Aryan, this Euro-Aryan, this other situation. But man, I want to dig so much into this because I know they're just dropping nothing but dropping this Hindu America, pyramids in India and Mexico. Some ignorant historians, impressed by the Egyptian pyramids, rushed to the conclusion that the Egyptian civilization was older than the Hindu civilization. But the facts prove that India was the pioneer in pyramid construction. This is what Ms. Nuttall says on the subject. No country in the world can compare with India for the exposition of the pyramidal cross. The body of the great temple of Bit Madu, formerly the Boost of the ancient city of Benares, demolished in the 17th century, was constructed in the figure of the colossal cross. Interesting. With a lofty dome at the center, above which rose a massive structure of a pyramidal form. You know this had everything to do with frequency, right? At the four extremities of the cross were four other pyramids. So how does this represent the grid, the pyramid grid, the energetic grid, the north, south, east, west, that 30-degree situation that they're on? However they want to look at it. We're talking about the cross. I love the Isaac Ford. Always, reminded me about the X marks the spot, the cross. We're going to get into this Eden. We're going to cover, what I'm saying? We're going to get into the terrestrial paradise, man. A similar building existed in Mutar. All right. Wait. I can't get away. All right, wait. But pyramidal towers placed crosswise, the Hindu was also displayed the all-pervading sign of the cross. All-pervading sign of the cross. At the famous temple of Chittabram on the Coromandel coast, there were 7 lofty walls, one within the other, round a central quadrangle, and as many pyramidal gateways in the midst of each side, which formed the limbs of the vast cross. So we're just talking about a gigantic cross in India. All right. Father or Faber quoted by Donnelly on Atlantis. And that's what got me to stop, because they went right into this Atlantis situation, right? So we are surfing and we're trying to extract what part is now, just because it's Atlantean doesn't mean it's 100% hijack. As we know, parts of Atlantis like Peru and, South America are still here. And so order was always, restored. Order was always, allowed to flourish. Other things were destroyed. So because they hijacked something as Atlantis doesn't mean it's a hijack, right? So I'm trying to be fair. I'm trying to understand. I'm trying to grow with you. We're trying to be as non-biased as possible. We break down this Atlantis and this energy stuff because we got to know what came first. Language, the vibration, or the hijack. If we know that the language and the vibration is before the hijack, then if it's all about vibration, as per Tesla, vibration, energy, frequency, if it's all about that, then we just got to know, what frequency is connecting above the barrier, what frequency is only below the barrier. What order is it? All right. What order is it? So, when we get back here, we're in the Marco Polo speaks of Ung Kong as the great prince who was called Prester John, the world speaking of his great power. In 1229, the celebrated missionary John of Montecovino, we drop his letter in part 16, go check it out, converted a Nestorian prince. So, here's their injection. They're saying that this missionary converted a Nestorian prince and that they converted Prester John somehow. All right, so that's their story. Dig on it. Who afterwards served mass for him. All right, and yet neither he nor the other missionaries who at this time were trying to convert the Mongolian princes of Upper Asia paid attention to the extravagant embellishments of the legend. One of these missionaries, Ordorius de Foro Julie, wrote that not 100th part of the things related of Prester John were true. So there were all these lies circulating, right? Just like he was converted, right? For centuries, the prince of the Caria or Cariot was looked on as the Prester John of the legend. The papal librarian Asumani and the geographer Ritter justified this scientific hypothesis by a mass of original documents. It is undoubtedly true that in this explanation of the legend, many of its peculiarities are more clearly brought out. Example, the sacerdotal character of the hero, for according to Rubiquis, the Nestorians of that locality were accustomed to to dedicate to the priesthood even their children in their cradles. All right, so here's their lies, right? So now they want to call people savages in their priesthood, right? The same thing they do with the Aztec. This is what they do before they say, look, we saved them. We converted them. These Nestorians dedicated their children in cradles. Now, did some people do that? But was that the way of Prester John? There's no substantiating evidence that we're getting, and that's how Prester John got down. When we're hearing about his lawful kingdom, even if you tell a lie, you get put to death. So you think they're gonna be dedicating their children, killing children? All right, so clearly, we see what they're doing, but let's go. The main point, however, is still unexplained, namely the origin of the legend, of course. So they don't know the origin of the legend. The account of Rubriquis, however, carefully considered, supports the Opert-Zarnik hypothesis and elucidates the transition of the legend from the Karakatai to the Kiria Zarnik. Meanwhile, explains or agrees with Opert only in essentials, and in many points sharply and unjustly criticizes his colleague. So, all right, so they're going back and forth with their hypotheses. All right, that's all we're doing too, man. We're just going back and forth, so I can appreciate them surfing the wave. So then they say, with the collapse of the Mongol kingdom, hitherunto the setting for this legend, the latter, finding no favorable background in Upper or Middle Asia, was shifted to the hill country of the Caucasus or to the indefinite parts of India. It is true that all earlier accounts of Presbyter designated India as his kingdom, but in the Middle Ages, the term India was so vague. All right. So if the term India is so vague, the term India is so vague that when you think India, you think of this little section right here. But when they talked about India, I mean, they were talking about all this, they were talking about this, they were talking about all this, they were talking about all this. As we got Ethiopian as a vague term, Abyssinian, Indian, it just means dark people. You know what I'm saying? For the most part. But, when they were talking about India, they were mainly talking about people in this direction. In this direction. Dark people in this direction. Indigenous to this direction. Because they came from these directions. Let's go. So, the term India was so vague that the legend obtained in this way no definite location. No definite location for the term India. But in the Middle Ages. So this is in the 1500s. There was no definite location of India. They just said the three Indias, which if you're just looking at the three Indias, you're just talking about, this way. I mean, 1, 2, 3, it's up to you. I don't know how they considered three, but definitely it wasn't just this one little place. We got sunken islands all over the place. Sunken islands all over the place. Three Indias, no definite location, but in the 14th century there appeared many real or fictitious accounts of voyages which pointed to the modern East Indies as the kingdom of the priest king. The most important document of this, or a somewhat later period, is the aforementioned Tractatus Pocherimus. In some maps, especially a Catalonian published in 1375, we find Christian kingdoms given in India. All right, but now they're in a certain location. We just said they had no definite location, but now there's Christian kingdoms in a definite location, and what they're definitely calling India now. In another map of 1447, towers are to be found at the root of the Caucasus, and underneath is written, the Presbyter King John built these towers to prevent the Tartars from reaching. So we heard about that over there. Does that mean his kingdom is there? Does it mean he's residing there? He's kicking back there? Or is he kicking back over here with Califia? Word to AD, is he kicking back with the, you know what I'm saying? With the Picts and Pict land. In the Pictish wilderness. Man, we're going to get back to all that. All right. Look at this. Now, Marco Polo speaks of the country called Abbasia as part of India, meaning probably Abyssinia. Okay, which is Ethiopia. Okay. Okay, now we're getting somewhere, Prester John. Hey, what do we tell him? I said, we on your ass, Prester John. What do we tell Prester John? We told him, man, in part 2 that we was on his ass. And now we getting on his ass, man. Raja Chola. Okay. All right. I'm sorry, man. When it gets good to me, I lose my shit. Marco Polo speaks of the country called Abaskia as part of India, meaning probably Abyssinia. El Prester John, El Prester Juan, Ong Kong, Juan, Wang, Ong, Juan, Wang, Khan, Emperado de los Abyssinios. Abyssinia, Emperor of Abyssinia, Prester John. Marco Polo speaks of the country of Abbasia as part of India, meaning probably Abyssinia. Many scholars, among others Yuli, are of the opinion that Pope Alexander's enigmatical letter was sent to the Negus, which is just the king, my negas, all right, of Ethiopia, Abyssinia, or India. Take your pick, man. Take your pick on the map. Because you've seen all this called Ethiopia. Now you're seeing that what? Ethiopia is Abyssinia? Is India? I mean, let's not forget. First of all, let's not forget that when they keep calling him a Nestor or Nestorian, they're only referring to an old king renowned for wise counsel in the 1580s. Then they're going to get into their own Nestor, Nestorian. But Nestor is just referring to an old king. Now, when they're breaking up Abyssinia, see, we got it before. It's waiting for us. Old name for Ethiopia in the 1630s. So it's an old name for Ethiopia, so it comes first. An old name for Ethiopia. Hold up, let me plug my battery, man, so we can get ready for our dismount, man. This is part 17. Part 17. Been yelling at people all day. You know what I mean? Just letting them know that we got the drop. Letting them know what we do. Peace and power, Drop Nation. It's everybody, man. Everybody flowing with this water. Everybody flowing with this water. I love y'all. All right, feeling good. Abyssinia, old name for Ethiopia, 1630s, from modern Latin Abyssinia, 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 mixture, like a mixed multitude, Abyssinia, Ethiopia, Latin Ethiopia. Look, man. Falasha, dark-skinned Jewish tribe of Abyssinia. Look, man, y'all see this? Negus, title or ruler of Abyssinia, Ame'rican Negus, king. Force, ruled. He ruled. All right, what did Prester John do? He forced. You know what I mean? The whole annihilation of the Islam situation that, was going on. I mean, he was a priest king. He was putting it down. All right, he wasn't over there playing. Prester John wasn't known for the play. Oh no, Prester John wasn't known for play. Look at his eyes. He was ruling. He was a Negus. All day, King David. Let's go. So we just talking India, probably Abyssinia. All right, Negus of Ethiopia, which is Abyssinia, like we just showed. But the previous name for Ethiopia. And again, if Ethiopia is also called Africa on many, maps, Abyssinia or even Arabenia, we've seen it called, then when we're saying Prester John of the three Indias, as we can see, we have our maps with Prester John right there in Africa, we have the ones that say Court of the Great Cham. Then we have the Kingdom of Prester John all throughout Ethiopia. They're looking over here. But Ethiopia is just India. And India, apparently there's three of them. He's Prester John of the three Indias. And I wish they had that link still up, but they took it down. Man. Oh, man. About Prester John, Raja Haraja, three Indias. That's where we got that drop. We're going to keep it going. So we got one India. All right. One India here. Two India here. Three India here. It's looking like what it looked like. All right. India probably meant Abyssinia. Ethiopia. All right. 1328, the Christian Bishop John of Colombo in India designated the Negus as Prester John. Quemos Vokitis Prester Wahan. In Jerusalem, at the beginning of the 15th century, the Abyssinian priests described their country to the Christian Portuguese merchants as the Kingdom of Prester John. Whoa. Now, I've been going back and forth in this link, and we're about to get our dismount, so I don't want to go crazy and start, but I didn't really, I read this with y'all. I got 4 kids, man. I got 4 children, man. I got time to do, but do y'all just see what that just said? Who is Prester John? Is all we keep asking. And now we got it right in your face bone. We got the King David before. We got all that before. We said, did they just recently take down our Israelite kingdom here? Is that what it's showing us in this parallel timelines? Is that what we're showing us, that our kings and our Israelite kings were just taken down? Is that what Columbus meant by I'm coming to America to seize the holy city in Mount Zion? Is that what the Papal Bull was all about? Seizing this kingdom that was from east and west, all one, rocking under this kingdom. But of course, you had your melanated brothers and sisters that were against this kingdom, that were other seas and were signing treaties against King David or Prester John, King Solomon and them, their lineage. Now you got this other lineage popping up way over in that Ethiopia, saying that they're the Philoshers in this lineage of Solomon. Meanwhile, this Prester John and this Solomon rocked over here. Again, the river Euphrates of America. The river Euphrates in America is here. This is the old world. So where are the descendants of this Solomon? Where are the descendants of this Solomon? Where are the descendants of the Solomon that was found right here in Mexico and Peru? So-called Negro. They over there claiming that they are the lineage of Solomon and Sheba. But where's your Sheba? Where's your Califia here? Where's your California? India, Abyssinia. Columbus came here asking about Prester John. Across from the Israelite king. What was he talking about? He is the Israelite king. That's the play in Jerusalem. At the beginning of the 15th century, the Abyssinian priests described their country. So in Jerusalem, at the beginning of the 15th century, in the beginning of the 1400s, man, that's before they did the Papal Bull to take down the kingdoms and subjugate the indigenous. The Abyssinian priest of Jerusalem, the priest of India, of the three Indies, the priests in Jerusalem, early 1400s, described their country to the hijacked Christian Portuguese, 440 merchants, mercenaries. They described their priesthood, their kingdom in Jerusalem as the kingdom of Prester John. Jerusalem, Prester John. Jerusalem is the kingdom of Prester John. Peru, Jerusalem. Peru. Salam. The Grand Master of the Knights of Rhodes expressed the same opinion in a letter written to King Charles VII of France in 1448. He said the same thing. The Grand Master of the Knights of Rhodes So you have another document from the Grand Master of the Knights of Rhodes saying that Jerusalem is the kingdom of Prester John. So-called Negro, your last noble image. This was a recent takedown, my people. You just lost yours. And they want to push this shit back in the BCs. That is the drop. This interpretation from the Grand Master of Knights of Rhodes expressed the same opinion in a letter written to King Charles VII of France, 1448. This interpretation was most popular at the end of the 15th and the beginning of the 16th century on account of the voyages discovered by the Portuguese, who at first persistently sought the presbyter's kingdom, Prester John's kingdom, the king of Jerusalem, along the whole African coast. Originally, they looked for it around the whole African coast. Vasco da Gama even carried with him letters of introduction to this supposed Christian ruler. Why did they come with the cross? Because they were looking for Prester John, and they thought that if he saw the cross, then he'll see them as allies. And they hijacked the indigenous north, south, east, west frequency and believed that in Ethiopia, they had at last fallen in with him. As a matter of fact, the Christian kingdom of Abyssinia had for centuries successfully withstood the onslaught of Islam. Successfully. Then Negus, the king, combined in his person a kind of spiritual with temporal power. Spiritual with temporal, man. Spiritual power. Heya power. And the name of John recurs in a remarkable manner in a long line of princes of that land. The oldest map discovered by P. Joseph Fincher, on which America is mentioned in 1507. All right, so this place, the presbyter's kingdom, is in Asia, province of Tibet. So now he's in Tibet. Now he's in India, Tibet, Asia. All right, Asia. In the following words, this is the land of the good king and Lord Prester John, Lord of all eastern and southern India. All right, Lord of all kings of India. India is everywhere. In whose mountains are found all kinds of precious stones. On the Car Marina, 1516, is placed in Africa, Regnum Habesh et Hadebeshi Prester John. All right. In the later times, it was the general opinion that Abyssinia was the presbyter's native land, Terra do Preste, as the Portuguese called it. Only towards the end of the 17th century did this opinion disappear, and in Louis' great work, Louis Thoff's great work on Abyssinia, it is said that the land had been wrongly named Prester John, so they went back on some of these. The legend had a stimulating effect on the Portuguese discoverers and indirectly encouraged the missionary activity of the Franciscans, and Dominicans in Central Asia and China. The conversion of Mongolian ruler being often their goal. They wanted to convert this Mongolian chariot ruler, this rulership that connects to Jerusalem. Some also exhibited a certain scientific interest in the solution of the legend and narrative of Rebequis, for instance, is still the starting point. And we have another document basically saying straight up, that they finally exhausted all their efforts to try to connect this with the Ethiopia and Africa, and that, they had to go back on all this stuff, because again, Columbus is mentioning it here. Now we're talking about the travels of John Mandeville. We're talking about the terrestrial paradise on the hills of gold. So we're back in the travels of John Mandeville. All right, so what is he saying? Of the hills of gold that Pismires keep, and of the 4 floods that came from the paradise terrestrial. Toward the east part of Prester John's land is an isle or island, good and great, and the men clept Tabrobane, that is full noble and full fructious, and the king thereof is full rich, and is under the obeisance of Prester John. Now, if Prester John has all this rulership, then does it beg to start drawing these connections as it with these parallel timelines and these people, they're changing their names to put them in different places. But if Mansa Musa is rocking at the same time as Prester John, and we saw those documents connecting those two, and then you got your Montezuma, who's supposed to be this rich, melanated brother at the same time. We've seen those pictures by paintings by Arnaldos Montanos, those original color paintings, of Montezuma, rich copper color with palaces in the back. So ain't no play. And now we got this same John, this title of this Jerusalem king, connecting that to the Aztecs, connecting that to India, connecting that to India here. So Prester John, and always there they make their king by election. In that isle be 2 summers and 2 winters, and men harvest the corn twice a year, and in all the seasons of the year be the gardens, floors, there dwell good folk, and resemble in many Christian men. They love putting that Nestorian Christian in there, right? So watch out for the hijack. Men among them, and they be so rich that they wit not what to do with their goods. So they got so much they don't know what to do with it. Of old time, when men passed from the land of Prester John into that isle, men made ordinance for to pass by ship 23 days or more, but now men pass by ship in 7 days, and men may see the bottom of the sea in many places, for it is not full deep. Beyond that isle towards the east be 2 other isles. Is this play? This is John Mandeville's travels, man. And men called that, or clept that one Oril, and that other Arjate. So are these islands connecting to this terrestrial paradise? That's what we're getting back to. I'm saying? A lot of, research that these brothers, man, these great brothers are doing behind the scenes, man, are connecting that to this Northwest Passage, to this Eden situation, right out of these, this Orinoco River, and this Euphrates. What is it? What's the Orinoco got to do with our river Euphrates? All right. What does the river Euphrates got to do with Eden? Everything, right? So what does that got to do with, the Mississippi? What does that got to do? All right. So all this connects. So beside that isle toward the east be 2 other isles, and men called that Oril, and the other Argite, and of which all the land is mine of gold and silver, and these isles be right where the Red Sea depart from the sea ocean, and in those isles men see there no stars so clearly as in other places, for there appears no star, but only one clear star that men call or collect Canopus, and there is not the moon seen in all the lunation, save only the 2nd quarter. And the isle also of this topograin be hills of gold that pismires keep full diligently. So it's nothing but gold hills, man. And they find the pure gold, and cast away the unpure. So they got the pure, they separating that from the unpure. All right. And these, what these fallen angels come here, man, for, And these pismires be great as hounds, and so that no man dare come to these hills, for the pismires will assail them and devour them anon. All right, pismires. I know you're asking, what is a pismire, John? Let's see what they say, man. Let's just get some basic stuff. An ant. Wow. Really? Let me see if I put this in our etymology. Alright, so we don't even see nothing about pismires in this etymology. Alright, here we go. It's ant. Alright, late 14th century. Piss, urine. Ant, an ant. So there's some giant ants, man. Let's go. Let's make our dismount. Alright, so we got these giant ants. Alright, so these pismires or giant ants will assail them and devour them, so that no man may get of that gold, but by great sleight. And therefore, when it is great heat, the pismires or the ants rest them in the earth from prime of the day unto noon. And then the folks of the country take camels and dromedaries and horses and other beasts, and go thither and charge them in all haste that they may, and after that they flee away in all haste, and that the beasts may go, or the pismires come out of the earth. And in other times, when it is not so hot, and the pismires need rest them not in the earth, then they get gold by this subtlety. They take Mars that have young colts or foals, and lay upon the Mars void vessels made therefore, and they be all open above, hanging low to the earth, and then they send forth those Mars to the pasture about these hills, withhold the foes with them at home. And when the Pismars see these vessels, they leap and anon, and they have this kind, that they let nothing be empty among them, but anon they fill it, be it what manner of thing that it may be. So they will fill those vessels with gold. And when the folk suppose that the vessels be full, they put forth anon and the young foals, and make them to neigh after their dams. And then anon the Mars return toward their foes with their charges of gold. So this is the drop on how they were getting this gold, right, from this place. And beyond that land and isles and the deserts of Prester John's lordship, in going straight toward the east, right? So not northeast or southeast, but straight. Remember the cross, right? So they're going right on that cross, straight east. Men find nothing but mountains and rocks full great. So that's really kind of the drop, where on that energy, on that straight north, straight east, straight west, straight south, is where these, treasures are lying, right? And there is the dark region, and there is the dark region where no man may see, neither by day and by night, nay by night, as they of the country say, in the desert, and the place of darkness door from the coast unto paradise terrestrial. So you got this dark area that you got to get through before getting into paradise, where that Adam, our foremost father, and Eve were put, that dwelled there but little while. And this is towards the east at the beginning of the earth. Towards the east at the beginning of the earth. Towards the east at the beginning of the earth. The beginning of the earth. Not the ball. A ball doesn't really have a beginning, but you do if you have foundations. But that is not that east that we clept our east on this behalf, where the sun rises to us. For when the sun is east in those parts towards paradise terrestrial, it is then midnight in our parts on this half. So for the roundness of the earth, of which, all right, so that's the hijack. I knew it was coming. That's why I had to let y'all know that you got foundations before they threw they bay out in it. All right. So see this, but see this through the eyes of foundation, and you get the drop. It says, so they had a different east. This is really what we're pulling out. They're talking about a different east. Is this when east was west? But that is not that east that we call our east. So which east is this? Then they go into the sun is east in those parts towards paradise terrestrial. And then he's going, roundness of the earth. All right, hijack. All right. Of the which I have touched to you of before. For our Lord God made the earth all round. All right. In the midst place of the firmament. So according to the hijacks, the firmament is just space. According to, your research, our research into our orientation, the firmament is a barrier. It is a barrier that NASA's lying about. The firmament is not space. The firmament is a barrier above you. That's your orientation. What's the point of knowing north, south, east, west if you don't understand up from down? You think up is down? Up is down on the ball. If you're spinning on the ball, what's up? Up is relative to wherever you are on the ball. But when the Most High says, all of you will see my glory, you will all see it. What sky, when the sky opens, what sky we're talking about? If you're on the ball, if you're on the other side of the ball, you're seeing the same thing. You know what I mean? So don't let them twist you, because you're going to all see it at the same time. Your sky, everyone's stars are the same. You don't have different stars because you're on the bottom of the ball. That has been proven. So we're talking about, all right, so the roundness of the earth, and there are mountains and hills and be valleys, and there is not but only Noah's flood that wasted the soft ground and the tender, and fell down into the valleys and the hard earth and rocks abide mountains. And when the soft earth and tender waxed nests through the water, and fell and became valleys of paradise, nay, can I not speak properly? For I was not there, it is far beyond, and that forthinketh me, and I was not worthy. But as I have said, as I have heard say of wise men before, I shall tell you with good will, paradise terrestrial, as wise men say, is the highest place of earth. highest, right? So you gotta go up some high waters to get there. That is in all the world. And it is so high that it toucheth nigh to the circle of the moon. There, as the moon maketh her turn, for she is so high that the flood of Noah might not come to her, that would have covered all the earth of the world, all about and above and beneath, save paradise alone, only alone. And this paradise is enclosed all about with a wall. All right, a barrier. Okay. And men wit not wherefore it is, for the walls be covered all over with moss, as it seems, and it seemeth not that the wall is stone of nature, nay, of none other thing that the wall is, and that wall stretches from the south to the north, and it hath not but one entry that is closed with fire, burning, so that no man that is mortal dare not enter. And in those most high palace of paradise, even in the middle place, is a well that casteth out the four winds, that runs by divers rivers, of the which the first cleft is the Paisan, or Genghis, and is all one, and runneth throughout Ind, or India, or Imlat. Alright, so research is Imlat, in the which river many precious stones, and much of lignum, aleos, and much gravel of gold, and that other river is called Nilus, or Nile, all right, Gyson, that goeth by Ethiopia, all right, and after that by Egypt, but which one? And that other is called Tigris, that runneth by Assyria, all right, and by Armenia the Great, and the other is called Euphrates, that runneth also by Media and Armenia and Persia, they say. And men there beyond say that all the sweet waters of the world, above and beneath, take their beginning of the well of paradise, and out of that well all waters come and go. So as we get into this Euphrates, and the other is called Euphrates, and of course we got this Euphrates River in America, according to the 1700s documentation. So this definitely plays when in our search for the terrestrial paradise, in our search for what we're calling Eden. The fourth river is called Euphrates. Euphrates in America. The fourth river is called Euphrates. That is to say, well-bearing, for there grow many goods upon that river, as corns, fruits. Remember, corn is indigenous to where? America. Fruits and other goods, enough, plenty. All right, so y'all keep checking that out. That's the, John Mandeville drop. We're going to get back into this paradise, man. The AD sent me, man. This paradise found. You know what I'm saying? Which basically, lays it right out. In the year 1322, Sir John Mandeville made his memorable pilgrimage to the east. In this account of these travels, after describing the marvelous kingdom of Prester John and India is all this, right? The third India, he says, that beyond the land and isles and the deserts of Prester John's lordship, and going straight towards the east, men find nothing but mountains and great rocks, and there the dark region that leads to paradise. So this is what we're getting, and that's the sacred source, only talking about the investigation of Prester John. Another great link, man. Love to the fam. I'll definitely lead us to this garden history that's linking all this as well to the Americas and Christopher Columbus. This is Christopher Columbus was keenly interested in finding the lost Garden of Eden. All right, so we're talking about Columbus, Eden, Prester John, Israelite king. One of his prize, remember, we're talking about Columbus, the holy city. One of his prized possessions was copy of Cardinal Pierre d'Ali's Image Mundi, a geographical treatise that suggests the terrestrial paradise perhaps is the place which the authors call Fortunate Islands, the Canary Islands off the north coast of Africa. Columbus' copious marginal notes demonstrate his abiding interest in mapping the location of the lost garden. When he stumbled onto the island of Hispaniola, Columbus believed he was so close to rediscovering Eden. Columbus believed he was so close to rediscovering Eden when he stumbled on Hispaniola, a belief reinforced by the strength of the Orinoco River of South America. I have never read of or heard of so great quantity of fresh water so coming into and near the salt, he wrote to Spain's King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella. And that very mild climate also supports this view. And if it does not come from there, from paradise, it seems to be still a great marvel. For I do not believe that there is known in the world a river so great and so deep. Now, Columbus is an explorer, and he's saying that when he came to South America, this river is so connected to Eden that he's never seen nothing like this before. It's so great a marvel. So great and so deep. This Orinoco was connecting him to what? Eden, Eden, Eden. You're going to keep hearing it. You're going to keep seeing it. And these are other reports that you could check out. You can get the drop from Arthur Barlow's report, 1584, or Thomas Harriot's report, all right, in 1585. Arthur Barlow says, let's get right to it. He's talking about, all right, upon their return in September 1584, Barlow submits a report to Raleigh extolling the virtues of the land Raleigh dubbed Virginia, virgin land, Virginia. He describes a land of sweet smells overflowing with grapes and of incredible abundance of animals, the best in all the world. The soil is also the most plentiful sweet fruit and wholesome in all the world, and naturally yields 3 annual harvests with little effort on the part of the planters. Barlow finds the natives most gentle, loving, faithful, void of all guile and treason, and such as lived after the manner of the golden age they found you in, Negro. In the land in which the earth bringeth forth all things in abundance, as in the first creation, without toil or labor. We're only talking about virgin land, Virginia. One image that the Native Americans would have disagreed with Barlow's enthusiastic estimate of the amount of labor required. A coax, a living from the soil. All right, then you got Thomas Harriot's report in 1584. So you got Arthur Barlow, 1584, Thomas Harriot, 1585. Now he's just talking about what? All right. He sent 25-year-old Harlot, historian and surveyor in a year. He spent as a colonist. Harriot made a detailed catalog of the New World natural resources addressed to adventurers, welfares, favors. So they're always addressing this stuff. This chapter's reports are merchantable commodities. While he too describes the New World as a land of remarkable abundance with gentle climate, Harriot chastises those who return from the New World, disappointed that it was not the labor-free paradise they expected. All right, so, they all expected to come here and just be in the Garden of Eden and just be labor-free and not have to do shit and not have to deal with getting jammed up by the people who they're taking this from. Then you got Michael Drayton, Ode to the Virginia Voyage, 1606, written a year before the founding of Jamestown, the first permanent English settlement in the New World. The first permanent English settlement. Ode encourages English brave, heroic minds to pursue honor for the country by subduing Virginia, Earth's only paradise. Earth's only paradise. Barlow's report must have been a source for the text of Drayton. He refers to the same images, all right, luscious smells on that land, all that. So they're all seeing Apollo's sacred tree. Sellers to bring forth new heroes and plant our name under the star not known unto our north. So we have a star here that they don't know about, and crown new poets from Apollo's sacred tree in the new land. So they're finding sacred trees. These are the hydrax that are writing about your land, your sacred trees. Who is Califia? Who are you? This is just an emblem of America. This is just an emblem. This is an emblem of America before they gave you this emblem of America in 1798. Look at her. Look at this emblem of America. Look at this emblem of America. Now you see how this emblem of America is holding the American flag with the eagle, and these motherfuckers right here looking down on you Indians like some giants. Look at these dark Indians. Look at the dark Indians that they're hijacking with their American flag. This is their emblem of America. Look at the Statue of Liberty. Look at their God. Look at Ashereth. Look at them looking down. Look at their Queen Mother of Heaven looking down on you. indigenous Negroes. Oh, but now we have this beautiful queen here with her bow and arrow. What does it say? An Emblem of America in London, first published 1801 by Haynes and Son, British Museum text, with the etching, quote, allegorical figure. We're like, who's Queen Califia? And we have this allegorical, mythological figure. It says that she's a allegorical figure. She's a myth. They want you to believe she's a myth. Shown full length, standing to the left, head titled to the rest, head tilted to the right, wearing a leopard skin. Museums are, of course, the main supports of the albinos' false history. Oh, they're talking about the white people's false histories. Museums support their false histories. All right. So who is this beautiful queen? All right. Hey, getting it in, warriors. Who are these people? These are your indigenous paintings, man. I mean, these are the paintings of the indigenous people. This is what they're finding here. These are the copper color races here, found here. Indians of the Bay Area of San Francisco, California, the Californians. And if we're going to talk Californians, oh man, this is some beautiful Anasazi drop, man. Left a high mark. And you know, they've been at war against you again 93% of the time since 1776. So look at these dates. You got the 1500s all around. But since 1776, these British and English, man, it's all about you, right? Look at these wars. Revolutionary War, Chickamauga, Pennamite, Cherokee, Chickamauga, Cherokee, Barbary, Cherokee, Seminole, Cherokee, Seminole, Texas, Indian, Texas, Indian, all Indian wars. In the Philippines are Indian wars, banana wars, all up into World War I, where suddenly they're saying, oh, we'll go somewhere else. But they're still going to war against indigenous people, as you see right here. Covert war in Guatemala, 1954. So up until 1954, all of their wars were against the indigenous people year by year, 93% of the time. 93% of the time warring against you. Warring against you. Warring against you. So, as we make our dismount, just know I love y'all. We get a couple minutes out of this Califia. We're going to get much more out of it. Again, love to AD for the drop, man. And we'll be back. Prester John 18. Suit up.
Good morning, anti-sheeple. Please,
I know she loud. Let's jump right into it.
Animals with developed skills. They were able to teach themselves to defend, utilizing a real force of domestic
Let's get it.
engineer some of the ancient art. What we discovered was truly amazing. CGI graphic art techniques were used thousands of years ago.
CGI.
Some art appears to be created using computer-generated technology and 21st century animation.
Wow.
What is revealed is intriguing and very surprising, a unique first-hand glimpse at life in ancient America. Some have low pixelation. However, all are in beautiful color, depicting cave art/pictures of worship, sacred ancient and Egyptian symbols, including the cross, snakes, gods, marriage ceremonies, underwater fishing, cave diving, scuba mask, electricity, guns, gold mining, and other high-tech capabilities. The California blacks lived by a strict moral ethics code, living in harmony with the people, animals, land, sea, earth, sun, and heavenly planets. Their wood-built homes, official dwellings, and structures were arranged in grandeur and complicity, from holy sites, cliffs residence, monumental buildings, scared caves and mounds that were enhanced and decorated magnetically in silk, gold, diamonds, and precious stones. Some appear to have illumination, electricity. Queen Califia and the California blacks were all directly or indirectly related to our descendants of the Olmecs of South America, West African Nile Valley, kings of Kush, Emperor Ramesses the Great and the Yellow Emperor.
Kings of Kush. Again, we're talking about the Ethiopians, the Abyssinians, Queen Sheba, who's also Queen Califia.
Angdi of China. The black mound builders of the Washita, Moors, Washita Moors, nation, an independent civilization, are also descendants of the Olmecs who successfully lived alongside of their cousins, California blacks, in peace, while engaging in boat building, seafaring, trade and commerce for thousands of years. Descendants of Ham. The history of the original black people of California is not mentioned in most American history books.
Oh, descendants of Ham we must be, but we know who we are. And if they can't tell us who we are, they certainly can't tell us who we're not. I love y'all. Keep staying up. Keep suiting up. Always choose up, man. Love to J Stu. Love to the family. We back at y'all. We won't stop dropping the drop. And we will be here for it all. We love you.